What's up guys, Darkdally here, and today I want to continue some of the damage testing that I mentioned I was going to do in one of my last videos where I was testing the new Commando Ghost Pack. And I do still intend to go over the clothes, which I'm wearing here, minus the bandana. Everything else comes from the Commando Ghost Pack. But today I want to talk about damage comparisons of the new M4A1 Commando versus some of the other AR15 based rifles in the game. Now I've come out here to Quantity Bravo. I'm going to do my damage testing the same way that I usually always do it, and that is to stop this convoy up here where I have a nice big flat surface, take shots at 200 meters, and compare them to one another. Okay, and so here we are with the M4. Now what I did was I stopped the convoy at the same place, and I'm testing all the base AR-15s in the game against one another. Not the bad news, mine's level 30. These are all level 1. So here I am shooting the M4, and with each of these I take down the entire convoy, then move on to the next. And this one did the convoy pretty effective. Let's get to that. This did the convoy pretty effective. It had a pretty decent rate of fire. They really, I'll spoil it now, they really all took about the same amount of bullets to take down an enemy. The M4 performed pretty well, was really responsive. Its high rate of fire really gives it a huge bonus to, you know, knocking back the enemies and keeping them stunned so you can take them down easily. That's one thing I'll say about that. Okay, so now onto the tactical. Here we got the tactical, and this thing, this was a pain in the ass. This took so long. I'll tell you right now, because I've got plenty of time to do it, because it took forever to take down this convoy. What I've done is the same thing as with my previous tests. I simply edit out everything that's not a hit. And this one took, I'm watching the editor right now. This has the longest bit of film in the editor because it took so long. Because the M4A1 Tactical is single shot. Now, I should mention I'm using the same scope in all of these, and I'm using all the best mods because I'm not as much testing damage. It started off as a damage test, but became more of a combat effectiveness test. Now, this thing, because it's single shot, you may as well just be using a semi-auto sniper and then use a different assault rifle with it, because this thing it's like firing one of the DMRs, only you do half the damage. This takes the same amount of bullets per enemy that the other AR-15 based weapons are taking, but it's single shot. And when they rush me, and they did rush me in this, I believe, I actually had to die and edit that out because I couldn't put down the fire I needed to take them down. Now here we have the M4A1 Commando. This is the new one. This is kind of the one I'm comparing everything against. This one did extremely well. It did at least as good as the regular M4A1. It has a good rate of fire. It was dead accurate. Dead on accurate. There's actually a section up here in a few seconds where I stop to reload and then I instantly shoot a guy. It looks like it's edited out, but it's not. I actually was able to scope him back in that quick right here. That's actually not... It looked like I edited it out, but I didn't. I didn't cut it. This thing was actually crazy effective and pretty good. Now onto the P416. A lot of people, I think, ignore this weapon because of its low stats and because it's the starter weapon. This was, there were a few times when I had guys rush me, like right here, and this was the only time I didn't have to edit out death. Note that all these rifles are at level 1, and I'm in tier 5, and I'll get to that in a minute here when I have time to talk. This thing was crazy effective. In fact, of all the ones I've shown, the P416, oddly, was the most effective. Guys, stats just don't mean anything. This thing was dead on and was able to put more bursts more accurately than any of the others, at least in the situations I was testing. Now here we have the last one I'm testing today, which is the R5 RGP. And again, hey, some of these situations could be different. This thing took, again, pretty much the same amount of shots, even though it says it does much more damage than many of these. Its slower rate of fire almost put it down with the tactical, but it was still able to dispatch the convoy in less than half the time. In fact, this thing dispatched the convoy. This was the second quickest convoy takedown. Again, it could be circumstantial, but there you go, guys. The R5 RGP also performed pretty well. And so now let's go on and let me do a summary where I'm not watching this so I can actually talk freely. So to summarize, I started this off as a damage test, but it ended up being more of a combat effectiveness. I think it's better to be practical because, well, you know, this was the same situation repeated over and over. I tried to engage him at the same distance, but doing it damage-wise is really hard. A lot of the ranges did vary. There was different amounts of critical hits. There were some headshots, rate of fire. And so really all of that really does work together to figure out combat effectiveness. Now, maybe you're more combat effective than me. Maybe you're a better player than me. But I think this was all a level playing field because it was the same person doing the same test in the same circumstance. So there's that for you. Now, I did mention I was using the same scope. I forgot to mention that the M4A1 Tactical actually has the comp M4, and I used the ACOG with the rest of them. it's such a small difference I didn't even notice when I was narrating, actually, so I don't think it really matters. Now, one thing about this, one thing is, all these rifles were at level 1, and I was doing it in tier 5. Now, I took the chance to do them all because they're all at the same level. You know, you may be like, well, it's not as good as if they were at level 30. Well, maybe not, but at least they're all the same level. I just can't take the time to level them all to 30, you know, for one test. So then why do it in tier mode? I wanted to do it in tier mode because, honestly, that's the way most everyone is playing, and that's the way people want to see stuff done. And I was quite surprised the effectiveness of some of these rifles in at tier 5. I mean, here I have the, you know, max level convoy, and I took the entire thing down with a level 1 P416 at tier 5, so that alone says something. Again, I want to reinforce that stats really don't seem to mean anything in this game. Now, I will get back to that with the R5 RGP here in a second. As far as mods go, the rifles were not on a level playing field. I had them all modded fairly optimally for their role, but again, I decided if I'm going to test combat effectiveness, that's what I'm going to do. They all did have the longest barrel that each could equip, which I believe in every case was the standard barrel. The R5 RGP, I believe, is the only AR15 derivative that takes a long barrel. I did not test, okay, so I said this was an AR15, you know, based weapon test. I didn't test the LVOEC because I don't have it, the Division one, but I've heard it's not very good, but who knows, you know, maybe it is. And I did not test my LVOEC bad news because mine is level 30, and it just so happened these other 5 were all level 1. I didn't want to test a level 30 against level 1. I have tested the bad news thoroughly, and it's seriously bad news. For them, that is, not for you. The reason I'm doing this convoy, if you haven't seen me do these tests before, it's because all the guys are alert. I'm testing on alerted enemies. They're all regular Santa Blanca soldiers, so there's no variation there, and I got a good level playing field to do it on. Now, there were a couple that you saw, the guys kind of noticed me, and I was rushed. That's because I was trying to keep at 200 meters, so sometimes they'd see me, and they'd come running towards me, so that probably affected some of this stuff too. But it gave me a chance to test some of those rifles, you know, in like actual combat at tier 5 with 3 guys rushing me. And the tactical, oh, I died. I died pretty quick. I just couldn't lay down the fire I needed. The P416 was able to take him out before they even... No, I think one of them did spot me, but yeah, one actually shot me, and I still managed to get him down. The P416, I think, really did the best as far as engagement. That said, the R5 RGP took the second quickest time to take down this convoy, and honestly, it would have been faster if I was closer range. I think the R5 RGP is a better close range engagement weapon, although its low rate of fire is a drawback for a lot of people because a high rate of fire really is ideal for assault rifles. But what I'm saying is the R5 RGP only took marginally longer than the P416 to take down the convoy. That's after editing with only hits, you know, that's not me repositioning or anything. It only took a marginally longer, and there was a lot of single shots I was squeezing out because it's harder to do bursts with the R5 RGP. It might actually do more damage than these, even though it seemed to take the same amount of hits. Even with all the single shots I was doing, it still was a pretty quick takedown. So there's that. So guys, that's about it for this. I hope that this was helpful. It was definitely helpful to me. I learned a lot of things doing this. So I hope you liked the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What you want to see next. What else we can do. I know I've been kind of slowing down on Wildlands content a little bit. So I might move on to another game this month. I'm not quite sure yet. Open to suggestions for that. But I might have something in mind. But we'll see. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Darkdally. I will catch you all next time.